gentlemen, and all the leaders who have honored our call to attend the NYCK Youth Empowerment Afro Summit 2023. I take this special opportunity to welcome you all. I honor and celebrate you all for dedicating your precious time to convene here today in commemoration of the International Youth Day 2023. The value of our collective presence here cannot be overstated. That is because unity of vision and sharedness of purpose is the key to unlocking all transformative change in our personal and communal lives. It is the only way we can achieve groundbreaking developmental milestones whose impact is not limited to a particular demographic, but rather spread across all cadres and strata of our communities. This is down from the smallest administrative unit all the way up to national and continental levels. That unity of purpose is what gives us clarity of what we want our future to look like. It gives us the incentive to dream, the focus to plan, the courage to act, and the resilience to execute all objectives and surmount all obstacles, regardless of how challenging they may initially seem. It is for that reason that I, along with the entire NYCK team, hold the opinion that your presence here today is not just an expression of your desire to convene, network, and engage with your fellow youth. This is not a weekend getaway for any of us. Rather, your presence here speaks to the quality of your character as a progressive young leader, willing to take charge in crafting and leading the quest for youth development that will shift your present and shape your future. Your decision to attend this Afro Summit is a compelling demonstration that you are among the millions of youth globally who are increasingly shunning passiveness and apathy towards involvement in developmental conversations and efforts, and instead, you are opting to be at the front line of championing for socioeconomic change that will not only benefit you individually, but the entire youth constituency in Kenya, Africa, and the globe as a whole. And just to let you know, the National Youth Caucus Kenya firmly affirms and validates this wise decision you've made. We are happy that you've decided to change things and not let things change you. We are glad you have decided to work with what you have from where you are and stake your claim to greatness. Most importantly, we are honored that you've decided to effect that change and chase that greatness in unison with us, the NYCK youth community. We assure you we will do all that is in our power to make this collective journey of change and impact a worthwhile journey. NYCK will give you the room to bring out the best in each of your fellow youth, and as the rest of this community will also strive to bring out the best in you across all planes, socially, intellectually, economically, and even leadership-wise. Therefore, are you ready for this journey for prosperity? Are you prepared to lead the way and shine the light for your fellow African youth? Have you made up your mind to stake your claim to greatness like the winner you are? Well, then, what else can I say other than you are at the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing in the right way. Welcome to the 2023 NYCK Youth Empowerment Afro Summit, fellow youth. Your time is now. Thank you, and may God bless you. Thank you very much. And at that juncture, I'll let you take back and invite the next speaker. Thank you.
Right, a best round of applause for him. Good morning. Wow.
I'm so happy and honored to be standing before you today, and for the good work and for the good words that Isaac has said. I'll just be brief. So today, as we gather on this Youth Day, we stand at the crossroads of opportunity and responsibility. We are the driving force of our future, the architects of change, and the catalysts of progress. It is with immense pride and determination that I address you, my fellow youth, to emphasize the power we hold in our hands and the urgency of our collective action. We are living in a world that is evolving at a higher pace. Our generation is connected like never before, armed with knowledge, technology, and the will to transform. Yet, this potential remains untapped. If we fail to recognize our role in shaping the course of our societies, we have a choice to be passive observers or active participants in the journey towards progress. Oya, Wangari Maathai, they are no more. They left a legacy. It's individuals who dared to dream, to question the status quo, and to take action when others hesitated. Today, the challenges we face are immense, from climate change to social inequalities, from economic disparities, and even political unrest. These issues can feel overwhelming, but we can overcome. We must remember that our voices, when united, have the power to shake foundations of inertia. We possess the ability to amplify our concerns and aspirations to a volume that cannot be ignored. And I believe we are the right people. We can make our voices known. We, the youth of Africa, we can make it possible. The path ahead will not be easy. It will demand dedication, resilience, and willingness to work together despite our differences. Let us not be divided by the barriers of ethnicity, religion. It is this unity that will enable us channel our energy towards a positive change. Change, my friends, does not happen overnight. It is the result of consistent efforts, small actions, and unyielding commitment to our goals. We cannot afford to be complacent or disillusioned. The option lies before us: to be the driving force behind progress, or to remain stagnant witnesses to the challenges that plague our societies. So, which among them do we want to be? In conclusion, let us rise to the occasion. Let us embrace our potential to shape the world as dreams. We have the power to make things work. Lies the destiny of the generation's vacation of youth voices. Some months ago, and thank you so much, our distinguished guests, Professor Kibudha Kibwana, Sarah, George, Lennox, and everyone. You mean the world to us. And I remember we were having a conversation with Proby. And I remember Professor Kibudha Kibwana gave me a very interesting answer. He told us, because actually we were the family, that is the National Youth Caucus family, the NYCK family. And he told that he gave us a very simple answer. If I were to go back, or something that I wish to see today, it's the youth being united towards accelerating development. We don't have to have the same objectives. We don't have to speak the same language. But can it be known that the youth are united? Can we have even a clear ask about what we want? So as we live today, it's not even about me, it's not about you. What message are you going to tell the fellow youth out there? Please. I know we have different youth-led organizations here, different movements and different initiatives. Can we have a voice whereby we can work together as the youth of Africa and as the youth of Kenya and Africa, because we also have our other African fellows who are following this conversation online, and some of them will be speakers. So kindly, Let us join hands, let us join forces and make Africa the queen she is. They are done with their time. They did what they wanted, what was to be done during that time. So we are the people, we are the Prophet Sakivuda Kibwanas of today, we are the Nelson Mandelas of today. As for me, I am ready to defend my continent. What about you? It is... Nimewabo. I'm sorry kama nimewabo, nimeongea vibaya. For the online participants, I'm sorry, you may not understand Swahili. But the man that I'm about to invite right now is someone who has the youth agenda at heart. I believe, wow. If you don't know Professor Kivuda Kibwana's story, just go and sit. The arrests and some stories that are never told. I try to control myself. Anytime I'm talking about unity, about the youth, I always find myself crying. I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know. How passionate are you about unity, about, you see, like the youth of Kenya? Trust you me, if we were united, we would have had an MOU with the government and tell them we want 5 PSs as the youth. And they would listen because it's the youth. But look at us. Anyways, kimeturamba si wote. So, ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me introduce to you the one and only Papa, Professor Kivuda Kibwana. With a standing ovation. Sometimes it's good to break protocol.
Sio vizuri kusimama. Good morning. I'm really very privileged to just say a few words on this podium, because I believe this is your meeting, and it is for you to really discuss and decide what you want. Take away time, valuable time for you to make discussion, because I called us, and it is you, to say just a few words. I really like, to work with young people, and one of the reasons is I was a teacher at the University of Nairobi for 25 years. And so when you're a teacher for that long, and you stay with young people, there is a tendency for you to remain young. And I started teaching at 23 at the university. And when I started teaching, there were people who were older than me whom I was teaching, even the girls. Sometimes they would tease me because they saw that I was same age or even slightly younger. But I really had opportunity anywhere where I work. This thing about change, what you're talking about, unity, change, and so on, it starts with you. Because if you can't change yourself, you can't change anything else. If you don't examine yourself and, ask, what are the things that in myself are not good, I don't like, I shouldn't like. And then you do a big job of really changing yourself. And sometimes, you also help a friend who you may know and who has some issues. So if each young person, particularly the leadership of the youth movement, me, if it is a pursuit of education, this is what I want. If it is relationships, healthy relationships, if that doesn't happen, then you can talk for a long time about change. and it's just talk. And it's challenging to actually examine yourself. Look at a mirror, yourself in the mirror. And you say to yourself, ai, like hii mambo ya pombe nimekunywa nyingi kidogo. Hii mambo, hii ingine sio nzuri. Hii ingine, all the things. And I think this is an important point, because I think in life, I have realized that change must start with you before it can go somewhere else. In 1979, when I taught for 2 years at the university, those days Moi was no joke. He was no joke. In the classroom, there was special branch. There was policemen. So that when you taught something and the government didn't like, they come for you. So sometimes some of us decided that you kind of hide yourself in drink. Sababu ukiwa unalewa, now you get used to the alcohol, then they will say, that's a drunkard. That one can't do anything. Let us look for the communists. Let us look for those bad ones. So, I was teaching at the University of Nairobi, and we used to go to the senior common room where you signed for your beer, so that it is deducted at the end of the month. And I remember once a friend of mine drank all the salary by signing. And Kavata, where's Kavata? This is not what I did and using somebody else to tell my story. So this friend of mine, so now he thought the best way to rescue himself, because the family needed some money, was to take the book away. Because he thought, now when I take the book away, they will not know what to deduct. But they deducted the entire salary. And so we used to do that. And we used to drink, like, there was a time I said to myself, I teach Monday and Tuesday, all my classes. After that, I start my weekend. Until Saturday, then I start recovering so that I can prepare for Monday and Tuesday. So a time came when I had to decide, what do I want to do with my life? And I told people, don't engage me. I'm going to make a personal decision. And the personal decision is I'm going to dedicate my life to drink or something else. And fortunately, I decided that drinking was not good enough. And after that, I said, I will not engage in drinking. Now, unfortunately, a lot of my friends who are my buddies, my drinking buddies, a lot of them are not around. Walienda majuu. This liver thing, when you take a lot of alcohol, the liver thing, a lot of stuff. Family chaos, a lot of problems. And one could count them. In actual fact, one of them was, I don't know whether you have read Song of Lawino. You have read Song of Lawino? Song of Okol, Oshol or Okol, Okot Papitek. Brilliant guy. He passed on, I think, at about 53. And he used to have, whiskey. Macho, it was called macho. Macho moja, 1 tot, macho mbili, 2 tot, macho ine, 4 tot. So he died at 53. And we went to Gulu to bury him. And when we went to Gulu to bury him, we found that there was a teacher's whiskey, which was not, he had not finished it. So we said we must finish it for him. And we finished it for him with John Ruganda. I don't know whether Rubadiri was there. You know, there was many of us. So anyway, I have told that story because we are told sometimes you must tell a story about some of the things that you hide. And it is a true story. And I reached a point where I said, if I'm going to do something with my life, it can't be drinking. And this is where, therefore, I said, you know, beginning, you have to really examine yourself and say, what are the things that make me not get to where I should? And within our groups, I'm not very useful. I don't even know whether I have shared that story with a lot. And I think now I have made that point of change begins with you. Now, some of the people that Lucy mentioned, like Akina Tomboya, others like even Mandela when he started after law school representing people, even Sankara, even Kibaki, Matiba in Kenya, all those people were very young. They became permanent secretaries. They became ministers when they were very young. You know, and they began Kenya. So it means you can actually do great things. If they did great things, it means that there's no reason why as a young person and as young persons together, you cannot do great things. Even the fight for independence, like Nakimati, after coming back from the Second World War, they were young people, and they decided that they didn't like colonialism. So I think the second point I'm making is you are capable of making the change that you are seeking. I'm assuming you are seeking some changes. Sindio? You know, you have everything, I think, that it takes. And one most important thing is courage. Because if you don't have the courage, you know, to do the hard things of, you know, you come together, you know, you're saying, what is it that we want to achieve? How shall we achieve it? Who shall we work with? How do we relate to the government? How do we relate to anybody so that we can prosecute our agenda? We can take our agenda forward. How do we relate with people from, young people from other countries, from East Africa, Africa, even abroad? How do we do that? So that requires hard work. You have to sit down and plan. And, you know, like when we began to get a constitution for our country, a new constitution, the 20, we met like your meeting, and we were saying we want a constitution. Even after there was trouble from Moi and so on, we want a constitution, and these are the things that we think should be in the constitution. And after a long time, from 1988 to 2010, there was a constitution. You know, so it is not easy stuff. You have to prepare. You have to work hard. You know, sometimes we hear there are some young people who say, I don't care how I get money. You know, hata nikipata pesa namna gani, I don't care. It's, you know, just to get money. But if that is the route, then you can't change nothing. Because that money comes, you think you'll get some more money from wherever you have gotten it from. You spend it, you squander it. It's a merry-go-round. So, mpaka, you have to have musimamo, you know, to say, if some of the politicians have been corrupt, we are not going to be corrupt. Because if you are corrupt by getting money from wherever you get it, then why should you change anything? There is nothing you can change because you are like some of those corrupt people. So, mpaka ujitume, ujideny, you know, so that it's almost like we were so told to quote the Bible, the Quran, to quote, you know, those faith books. But you must deny yourself, you know, because if you don't, then there is no change. And you have to study what is it that, what is the youth policy? What is the youth laws? What is the youth programs? What is the African Charter? You know, what does it say about youth? You have to study, you know, the UN level. You have to study those things so that you can see the opportunities, you can see the shortfalls, you can see what you require to advocate for changes. And so that, I don't say many things. The way in which as groups you're organized, you know, there may be groups on climate change, there may be groups on entrepreneurship, there may be groups on human rights, there may be groups on gender issues, there may be groups on... I think that diversity and that richness is a very, very important thing. And what you do is, if there was like the best organized youth movement in any African country, it would consist of, if there is the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, what are the youth groups that are working in that space so that they can engage that ministry? Which ones are working on, you know, trade and are working on entrepreneurship and employment and so on? They go, for example, in Kenya and engage Kuria, Moses. You know, so that now it is real stuff. It is not general stuff. So that for each of those ministries, you get the youth groups that are dealing with each of one of them to now go and say, we want a round table with this ministry and the other one. And ultimately, we want a round table with the president. Because we have serious issues, we want to engage seriously, we are serious people, we are the ones to inherit Kenya, and we want to inherit a good Kenya. Because at table, we were just talking a little, and I said, since I'm 69, another few years, you know, I will not be around. And many of the people who are now the politicians will also not be around. So it will be you who will be around. If you have not prepared for your country, you'll have, they called banana republics. You'll have a useless country. And if you have a useless country, you suffer and your children will suffer. Isn't it? You see? So it is that structured engagement, and that means that you must also have a forum. It is preferable you have a forum where now all those groups which are doing all those things also now also come together. They strategize. You go and talk to this one, and we talk to this one. Let's come back and see what the results that we have had, you know. So I'm happy, you know, we were asked to say a few things. Just a final story. I was told maybe I can say a final story. A final story. Actually, when I went to Standard 1, long time ago, 1960, the school where I went, there was only Standard 1 and Standard 2. And there was one teacher. And he used to also go and have a drink. And when he went to have a drink, he would leave the radio. You know those radios, sometimes they put the radio in a box. And then the radio would continue, and you know, when it was time for us to go home, we went home and we left the teacher's radio. You know? And it was one classroom. So some students looked that way, others that way. And when you when you went to standard 2, because there was not standard 3, you went back to standard 1. Serious. You know, but fortunately, my parents took me to another school for standard 3. And I went they loaned me to my aunt, who was a widow, very poor, very, very poor. So poor that she brought bones from a town called Emali. When she brought bones and they were boiled, we ate meat. I don't know that she got them for free or she bought them, but I remember she had coins. I don't remember seeing her with paper money. And serious, we had one spoon, which was her spoon. And you know, it was a privilege to use it when she was not using it with my cousins. Now, something told me that school was important, and I liked school, and I knew if I complained to my parents, I would be withdrawn. So I decided that I must continue. When they asked me how are things, I said, they're good. And sometimes we would stay without food. And I'm not saying things like many politicians, or they always say stories of poverty so that is it rags to riches or something like that. So now when I went to school, now the primary school, now this new one, there were kids of rich people. And I helped them with maths, with things, and then we sat together in something we called akisuka. Several kids eating together. They would bring rice, and sometimes they would bring chapati, and even meat, real meat. Because under normal circumstances, apart from those bones, we used to like when a goat died, and the parents were, not happy. Their goat has died. The children were so happy. Now we are going to have real meat. So now these friends of mine, I would sometimes, bring boiled maize. Hard, not like the soft one we ate. And sometimes not bring anything. So after a while they said, even if you're showing us maths, now we are not going to eat with you. You don't bring food. So that is the day I really cried. And I told God, I want to study, become a teacher, like the teachers. I like the teachers. So that I have food just for my stomach. So my motivation in terms of studying was just to have food. I reached standard 8. Then I go to teachers training college, like my teachers, and I teach and have food. So they changed the system, standard 7. I did, the exam, went to Machakos, and, studied Nairobi, studied in London, studied in America, and of course, I became a teacher. So that when others were going to practice law, I said, no, I want to teach so that I can have, the food. And there was food. And later, when I was working for President Kibaki as his advisor, I decided to also study theology for 3.5 years so that I could also have spiritual food. So it was, continuing a journey of making sure that there is food. There is food. So I think, never say you are underprivileged, and we shared. Never say you are underprivileged. Your background is very hard. You can't, some kids are more advantaged. Others are going through the Mediterranean and through Sahara and through whatever. Make Africa better for yourselves. And you're the only ones who can do that. Make Africa better so that even those guys start coming here. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much. And just before you leave stage, Prof, and I'm so excited that you're a storyteller like myself. I see you're a good student.
I didn't quote a verse.
You did? Okay, yes, yes. We've caught you on that one. Give us one.
No, because now for me to quote, I would
Yes.
have to quote
Yeah.
from the Bible and from the Quran and from Even here, there may be some Africa traditional religion people. Yeah.
Okay, just before you leave stage, maybe. And I was saying I really love how you're also a storyteller, and you can tell the age difference, yeah, between the people represented here. I think when you guys were joining school, it was the time you had to touch your ear. Kama huwezi fikia, you can't start school, you go back home, yeah? Mm-hmm. So as the millennials, and I see some Gen Zs, it was more, can you do A, B, C, D? But that's beside the point. But what's the most fulfilling thing that you have done in your life? I think as people who have read about what you've done, and this was not planned, by the way, I'm from that county. So we've seen many projects you've done, like in our county. I remember there was something around a mango processing plant, something that was not there before. As much as we had mangoes in Ukambani, we didn't have a system of how to help the farmers. And then I also saw a milk processing plant around that time. I didn't even know we had dairy farmers in Ukambani. It was really nice to see that in Machakos, in Makueni County. So, but out of all those things that you've done, what's the most fulfilling thing you've done? And what contribution do you think you have made to the youth? What legacy have you left for us to continue with?
I think I go back to teaching.
Yeah.
Teaching was what fulfilled me.
Okay.
And like a lot of the lawyers in this country, I kind of taught them.
Yes.
Even I think most of the ones in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
You know, I think probably all of them.
Yeah.
I was their teacher at some point.
Uh-huh.
So teaching is really, you know, and
At some point you were top 10, I remember, around that time.
Yeah,
Yeah, of the governors, yeah. Uh-huh.
it was not easy. Many of the new people in terms of the workers were young people.
Okay.
Because initially, 2030, who came for those jobs.
Yeah.
So, under 35.
Oh, okay.
So, very little.
Yes, I
They
remember
register for 300, for 500 shillings, and 500 shillings per household,
Oh,
even
okay.
during COVID, you know.
Yeah.
But I told them that, but this can't work.
Yeah.
The kids told me, the young people told me it can work. How? They said the people who used to pay
Yes.
paid about 100 million shillings. Who used to pay to come to the hospitals, level 4, the senior hospitals. Therefore, if we ask each household, we have about 250 households,
Yeah.
minus those of 65 and above.
Yes.
Those are free. If we ask them to pay only 500 shillings, we shall get more than the 100 million shillings that they pay when they come. And
Okay.
after that, we'll help everybody get accessing treatment. So, okay, I said, well, they are the professionals.
Yeah.
They have advised me. Let's see how it works.
Yeah.
And from 20,000 and for 6 years, 16, to when I left 2022,
22, yeah.
people were getting, you know, treatment in our hospitals for each household 500 shillings. You know,
Wow.
you get operated, 500 shillings. The same 500 shillings. You know, you get your drugs. And it's just because we tried and said we don't want to be corrupt.
Yeah.
The money should be used for the people.
Yes.
So I gave that as an example of not so much that I created universal health care in the county,
Yeah.
but it was young people who actually told me that this is possible, and they drove it, and I was just there to help and guide a bit. So that told me that in many of the things we did, the potential of young people, when
Yeah.
they have a chance, they perform. Yes.
Thank you for taking a chance with the youth.
Yeah.
Thank you. A better round of applause for Prof. Let's applaud him even as he gets off stage. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Asante.
Asante. All right. A better round of applause for him. Thank you so much for joining us. We are honored to have you here. So, did you guys have a good time in that amazing speech? Did you love it? So tell your neighbor, the pointers, and that's why I said have a neighbor from the start. Tell them, what did you pick up? For me, I had a lot of legacy. And I think now I'm starting to think legacy is not necessarily what you leave with people, it's what you leave inside of them. Don't you think? So tell your friend, that was mine. Don't copy mine. Tell your friend what, tell them what was your takeaway from that nice speech. All right. Thank you so much for that, Prof. Kivuda Kibwana. We are truly honored to have you. So, what did your neighbor tell you? What did they tell you? A few answers. One? Huh? Encouraged to do the hard things. I also had somewhere a process. Something else? Change starts with you. Oh, meaning me, right? So say change starts with me. Something else? Last pointers? Yes? If you've not changed yourself. Thank you. You can't change anything if you can't change yourself. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Clap for yourselves. You guys were attentive. I see. If this was a class, and I don't know why, is it only teachers who say their jobs are fulfilling? Have you noticed? It's like the rest who do other things. Us, we are never fulfilled. Maybe I should consider teaching, What would I teach? Okay, we'll think about it. Storytelling. I teach storytelling. I will teach storytelling. I'm a corporate moderator, by the way. If you have your events, you know where to get to. So right about now, we have a panel that is coming on board. Are we ready, Lucy? We're ready? All right. So it will be conducted by the one and only Dom. So let's appreciate him. Thank you very much. He will introduce his guests as well as run the panel. Thank you. The stage is yours, Dom.
Thank you so much.
Karibu.
In the next section will be a panel. So Peter Waithaka, please join us on stage. Doris, kindly. Thank you so much, CEO. Karibu sana. Mike, please. We are going to have other two joining us from Nigeria and Uganda. So kindly, media. In this panel, as we wait for them to join, we are going to do youth diagnosis, whereby we are going to hear our stories from our own experience, stories from home, Africa, stories of unity success, what they have been through. We have heard from Prof, amazing stories. And I always tell the Prof that one day I will make sure that we organize a meeting just to sit down to hear the stories. He has a very rich history. Now, we are going to discuss the present status of Africa youth. Are we united? Are we going down? Or the cave is going up? And also the unique challenges that we have as youth from Africa. And also we are going to see some unique development effort in Africa that the young people are engaged in. And also we're going to see how we can accelerate youth voices, unity, development in Africa. So I think now we can introduce ourselves as we wait for them to be projected. So from the far end, Karibu.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Good afternoon, all. Yes, my name is Peter Waithaka. I work with an organization called Emerging Leaders. And I was so much moved, especially by what Professor was saying, because basically that is what most of us do, that we believe that without mindset change, the story remains the same. And I'm a firm believer that for any form of development, any form of transformation, young people must be at the center. And even if you look at all religion, political science, Jesus himself, 33, with the young disciples. So much privileged to be in this place. And I believe whatever that we are going to share, it's only part of our story. Doesn't mean that we are experts per se. But I believe the reason why we were chosen is because we have something little that we can be able to add unto you, and it bring value. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Doris Munyingi. I'll begin by saying Happy International Youth Day 2023. I am wearing many hats, I think, by sitting here. First and foremost, I am a programs officer for a national movement of grassroots women and girls in Kenya that is called Roots Kenya. I am also the Eastern Africa representative for the Gender is My Agenda campaign, GIMAC Young Women Network, which is one of the African Union regional economic commissions. I am also privileged to sit at the International Land Coalition, which is one of the main coalitions for land matters in this globe. More than that, I am a friend and a partner to the National Youth Caucus, and I am very happy to be here this afternoon, not only because today is the International Youth Day, but also because every day when we wake up as young people is an opportunity for us to leverage on our existing capacity and to collectively come together and have agendas and have discussions that are pushing for what really affects us. So over to you, Dominic, and thank you for having me in this panel.
Thank you. Welcome. As we wait for the others panel to join, if you look at Africa at large, across Africa, what is happening around Africa, young people does not want even to stay in their own country after they are graduate, after they become profession. All of them, if you go to the immigration, you find young people there. They just want to go away from the country. You see a lot of disunity, war, demonstration in most places in Africa. What do you think about that? Do you fear that we are in danger as young people, or what is your take on that?
Thank you so much, Dominic. My take on that will be, you see, when the clouds be full of them, they empty themselves. And I was reading what the concept that you had sent, and looking at it from the statistic that I read, that the people that graduate, first of all, it's 11 million, okay? The labor force, the guys that get employed, 3.7 million. And a huge percentage of that, ni informal settlement, an informal sector. Atuzungumzia ati hapa hivi ni gava. So, you have almost like 7 million graduates who are coming out of the university with the papers, and you know there has been a conditioning mindset that from the onset, starting from our parents, that told us, if you don't have this paper, you are no one. So each and every young person is achieving, or goal yake at the end of the day, it is getting the paper. Sawa? Then you have these young people that have the papers, but the paper is not translating itself to the job market. So hivi kijana ataenda wapi? And this is one of the reasons when you see the uprising, the uproaring of young people. Unaelewa? It is only that they do not have a proper channel on how to channel their energy, and that's why some of them utawapata wanaenda in the political side of it. We might say they are being used, but in a different way. There is a strategy, ama kuna kitu, there, something that they are showcasing, but only in a negative way. But if it could be harnessed in the right way, because all these people, what maybe they want is space, it is opportunity. No wonder ama vijana wanataka kwenda majuu. Because at the end of the day, umesomeshwa hapa hivi na mkoro wako. Unaelewa? You have the papers. And as a young man or a young lady, ukiangalia the status, the social media ambapo, whereby, and when also you look at the television, which somebody nilisikia kisema the basic meaning of a television is just vision, ni kudanganyana tu. Kila mtu anataka life poa. Sawa? And we grew up tunajua life poor. When I get this education, when I get these papers, I'm going to have that. Domi, it hasn't happened yet. What are you going to do? Uko frustrated. Uko confused. There are no proper, akuna, the organization that are doing mentorship, coaching, empowerment, ni chache sana. So, we have the potential within, but it is not yet unlocked. Ni kama imefungiwa kabisa. And any moment this young person gets an opportunity, whoever unlocks it, be it positive or negative, nakwambia ni lazima erupt. And that is what is happening. Mtu akisikia kuna job majuu, I tell you they are going to go there. Akisikia kuna hivi story ya radicalization, sawa? Because of ile hivi naiveness at times, frustration, I want to be like other people, you find us going there. But I believe the opportunity that Africa has, especially when it comes to the potential of young people in the labor market, ni mingi kabisa. And we need to change this mindset. And I love what we said. Unajua tuko na ile hivi mtaa. We call ourselves youth of Dandora. Unaelewa? Youth of Kawangware, Kangemi, or youth of Nairobi. But you see, our theme of today, the youth of Africa. So sazile uko hapa hivi, I'm not seeing myself as that village youth leader. We're in this platform discussing about Africa. And you know what it does? It elevates our energy. Na tukitoka hapa hivi, tutakuwa watu wengine different. Thank you so much for that.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, let's clap for him. Now,
if I may?
yes, yes.
If
yes.
I may respond. I think when we talk about the status of African youths, there are several indicators that should be our guidance to us responding to what is the status. You know, if I come and ask you today, what is the status of your pocket financially? Si kuna zile indicators utakuwa nazo. Maybe you will tell me the status of your pocket based on the amount of money you have to save, the amount of debt that you have, the amount of investments that you can make. And so when I was thinking about this, I realized there are four main things that respond to what is the current status of youth in Africa. And the first one is our issues of employment and entrepreneurship. And the question is, what becomes the rate of the employment against the people who are educated? Every day on Twitter, every day on Instagram, every day on TikTok, we have conversations with people who are saying, I graduated from Form 4, I graduated with a first class honors, but anatembea kitafuta kazi. Maybe kuna yule mwenye on another hand, alimaliza akiwa class 8. Maybe I am a youth from Mashinani. I started working an undignified job from as soon as I finished class 8, and all the way coming up, I have found a way to just make life work for me. And so the status first begins by us looking at it at what is actually the rate. And the rate is that we cannot match the number of people from across Africa. We have discussions with North Africans. We have discussions with South Africans. We have discussions with West Africans. And we cannot begin to match at 50-50 the number of people who are employed against the number of people who have actually managed to finish their education. In the same light, you realize that there is a lot of us in informal youth employment. That means if today we are to wake up and count the number of youths who are actually employed in dignified jobs versus the number of youths who are employed in undignified jobs, the number of those with undignified jobs will outdo the number of those with dignified jobs. That is one of the status that we actually have currently. You'll realize that in the same light, we will have a lot of long-term youth unemployment. Every day we are talking about this as our status. Immediately you ask even a Form 4 going student, na ako shule haki, anangangana kupata A student. Ukimuza, what are the challenges that the youths are facing? The first answer, unemployment, even before poverty, even before literacy skills. So unfortunately, that is the status that we have. We also have issues to do with education and skill development, that being the second pillar. Entrepreneurship aside, how many number of grassroots women, how many number of grassroots young boys, how many number of grassroots young girls are able to finish their education, not only even to secondary, even to just complete class 8, to just finish Form 4, you know. So that is unfortunately some of the status, and this is a cut across issue across our borders as a continent. In the same light, you'll realize that we have an issue with literacy. If I ask us today how many of us normally attend public participation within our counties, how many of us in this room can lift our hands? Faithfully attend public participation, all right. How many attend faithfully public participation for the public finance management cycle? What affects us the most at county level? Yani unajua financial year inaanza July, financial year inaisha June. Now from July to June, you know exactly where to push for our priorities. How many of us attend? How many of us write memoranda? And this is a constitutionally given mandate that if you feel like you are not being heard, even the county government itself has 14 days to respond to you once you write a memoranda, once you write a petition. How many of us as youth leaders use this kind of platforms? So unfortunately, you realize that that level of illiteracy amongst ourselves about the law that is actually ours. I liked what Professor Kibwana mentioned, and he said, how many of us have read the African Youth Charter? How many of us have read the UN Charter? How many of us have read even the Constitution of our own republic? How many of us have read the, what are they called? The manifestos of the governors that we elected into power, that we can hold them accountable for even what they said they would do. So when you ask me the question of the status, unfortunately, sometimes we are also lagging behind with information, and so we are not able to push and advocate for our agenda from a knowledgeable point. Last but not least is the issue of healthcare and well-being. We are talking about mental issues amongst us on a day-to-day level. More than ever before, we are witnessing suicides among young people. More than ever before, we are witnessing mental illnesses of various kinds, things that, I think if you sit with my grandmother or my grandfather and we tell them the number of suicide cases that are going against the ones that went on in their generation, I don't think we can match up. And can we blame ourselves for this? I don't think so. But the question is, how are we handling the issues of health and well-being that come? How are we handling the issues of female genital mutilation, even in a country where we are against this kind of sexual, gender-based violence issues? Every day we are fighting. So unfortunately, these are some of the statuses that we have. When it comes to rights, governance, and youth empowerment, which is my last pillar, when we are looking at the status of youth across the continent, how many of us actually practice our democratic rights and wake up and go and vote for our leaders? How many of us actually keep them in check? How many of us actually are we aware that we have provisions in the Constitution that protect us? We have government entities allowing us, to be in the 30% clause. I was in a meeting a few weeks ago, and we were discussing the African Union Agenda of the Year, and that is the African Continental Free Trade Area. And while we were having that discussion, we realize that it is only in Kenya among the 55 countries where there's a provision of 30% of us to receive tenders. We are put in one bracket with women and with people with disabilities to be given government tenders. How many of us actually utilize these spaces? Or do we leave it to the women to push for that agenda? Do we leave it to the people with disabilities? How many of us young people sit in these particular committees, in these particular convenings? And so unfortunately that becomes the status of where we are. It doesn't mean that we are not doing well. I think the evidence of us in this room means that there are people who are coming together to have collective action, and we cannot disregard the fact that even as things are going south, more than ever before, are youths coming together for collective action. So I think that is my status and my view for youths in this season.
Wow, wow. Well, that's powerful. You're going to have a very interactive section. So whenever you have question, you can always let me know. Yeah, so. Okay. Avigent? All right. We have had some powerful points there. And my question, my next question would be, if there is those unique challenges that young people are facing today, do you think there are those unique challenges?
There are so many unique challenges. There is no new challenge. Maybe the timing might be different, but same challenges, but different timings. Because the issue of unemployment, I've had it for many years. The issue of unemployment. And I keep on asking myself, why hasn't somebody, and that is what I used to think, ni kwa nini mtu hajatatua hivi shida? Until today niko na, until I myself ask that question, nagojea nani anipatie job in the first place? How many of us hapa hivi, ni wangapi hapa ni wangapi tumechorwa job? Kama andiko job, inua mkono. So, at least we have 3 people. Now watu wengine, watu watatu wamechorwa job, okay? Sisi wengine, ni wangapi wamejiandika job? Makofi. Nao wengine, nao tuko wapi? Hey, haujaandikwa job, haujajiandika, sawa? Nuko na smartphone, nuko na expenses. Where are you getting your money from? So hiyo ni story 2. It shows how within the unique challenges we have, Dominic, we also have unique ways, unaelewa, of solving our problems. And when I look at hapa hivi ukiangalia, and I love, for the first time, nimeona boy child, ama male participant kwa forum hapa hivi ametokelezea. Appreciate yenye hapa hivi kijana ametokelezea. In many spaces, pale mtaani, the boy child in Mathare, kujana ule hivi ambaye kwa Mathare, facing the same troubles na ule hivi wa Central na issue ya alcoholism. Sawa? When you look at the issue hata kama nile hivi ya girls, the issue of teenage pregnancy, unaelewa? Whatever that is happening there in Kanguruwe, Kayole, ukienda pale hivi Pwani, is still happening there. The issue when it comes to inequality in terms of getting not only education, but quality education. Sawa? the issue of unemployment in a cut across. So we have so many challenges, almost all challenges katika youth ni similar. It is only in different setting, the way they internalize and the way venye wago wanaitumia kuisolve. Because in one area, the same problem of unemployment, some will resolve in crime, na wengine wataingilia sport. Wengine because of depression, wataingilia kutumia vitu kama sawa madawa, na wengine wataingilia kitu kama kufanya nini? Kunywa pombe. So all our problems are universal. Again, there is that community way of solving those issues, ndio siwaga tuna adapt. So we've not been trained to think independently as African. Nile tunaangalia what are other watu wale hivi wengine wako hivi area, how they solving that issue, na hivyo ndio tunajaribu kuisolve. Thank you.
Wow. Before our next panel, I want to introduce our online panel. Are you guys able to hear us? You are on mute. Unmute. We have Juliet from Nigeria, and we have Sharon from Uganda. So who goes first? Juliet, are you ready? Introduction, please. You're on mute. Sharon, are you able to hear me? As they prepare, I would love. Hello, how are you?
Very fine. So can I go on?
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
It's so wonderful to be here. So first, I'd like to start by saying Happy Youth Day to every young person out there. Happy Youth Day to every youth represented here today. And it's so exciting to be a part of this conversation. I've had to learn so much by participating in this summit, and I want to thank Lucy, my sister from Africa, for this opportunity to be here today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the amazing things you do from your different locations to advance development in Africa and promote sustainable growth. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Juliet, and I'm from Nigeria.
Thank you, Juliet. Sharon?
Hello, can anyone hear?
Sharon, are you able to hear me? Yes, Juliet.
Can you hear me, or should I continue, or let Lucy introduce herself?
Yes, just continue.
All right, so we've said so many beautiful things today, so many beautiful things that if we can put our hands on them and make a commitment to do what we've heard today, we can actually move Africa from where we are right now to where we should be, right? And my little contribution about everything everyone has said, yes, we understand that we have challenges in Africa. It's no longer news that Africa has a lot of challenges, from unemployment to gender inequality, right? To a lack of skills development. my fellow panelists, and then we have issues of lack of quality education. In Africa, we're practically struggling to go to school. Going to school looks so difficult because we don't have the resources that should be available to us to acquire basic education. Talk more of having a progressive education, right? And so we know all of those challenges exist. We have leadership issues, we have leadership challenges, right? And we've not been able to hold our leadership accountable to the things that they do. Office holders, public office holders do what they need, do what they do most times, corruptions here and there, corrupt practices and everything. We know all of these things are the challenges that Africa and African youths are faced today. But then how do we move forward? How do we move forward from where we are right now to the continent? I just have a few things I want to share with us, right? And number one on my list is that as African youths, we need to begin by embracing our African heritage, right? We must begin to be proud of who we are. We should be able to identify ourselves as Africans, regardless of where we find ourselves, regardless of what we are doing part time, regardless of anywhere in the world that we find ourselves. We should be able to recognize and admit that we are Africans. Be proud. Be proud. Your introduction should include that you are African, right? Before you are Kenyan, before you are a Nairobian, before you are Nigerian, you are first an African, and that should be a culture for us. That should be something that we should inculcate within our spirit. The African spirit should be inside of us. It should direct our decision making. It should inspire us to do the things that we do. Everything that we engage ourselves in should be around developing Africa, right? Because we are Africans, and the developmental agenda of Africa should be our first priority. I hope somebody is still hearing me today, because I can't see the other image. I'm just seeing myself. Hope there's somebody there who is listening, who is hearing. Am I still on course, please? I'd like to know.
Yes, we are able to see you clearly and also hear you very clearly.
All right, fantastic. Fantastic. So, having embraced our African heritage, the second thing I like African youth to do moving forward, right? If we must achieve sustainable development, if we must bridge the gap on everything that that has been said today, right? We must come to recognize that these challenges are real. It's real that you are able to have an escape route to go up over those challenges, like you're able to have better opportunities, and then you didn't have to struggle with poverty, let's say by virtue of your parents being rich and all of that. You didn't have to struggle with going to school because there was somebody there who was willing to sponsor you throughout the process, or you don't have to struggle with gender inequality because you had an opportunity to become well placed in life, and all of that does not mean that these challenges do not exist. They exist, they are real, they are before us, we are faced with it. So every African youth today should understand, to recognize that we are faced with these challenges, right? Because it is in recognizing that we are faced with these challenges that we can actually be inspired to do something about those challenges that we are faced with, right? So that takes us to my third point, which is we've been willing to do something. It is not enough to know that, oh, we have gender-based violence in Africa, or we have epileptic educational system in Africa, or our health sector is in a mess, or our leadership is in crisis, or there is poverty in Africa, and all of that. It is not enough to know those things, but we can take the third step, which is being willing to do something about it. That is, for me, what this whole youth summit is about. We know the challenges. We know this is what we are going through in Africa. What are we willing to do? Are we just going to fold our hands and let these things play out before our eyes and say, oh, God is going to send help someday to Africa. I just hope there is help for Africa. No, we are young people. We are we are like the bedrock of Africa, right? We are the power base of Africa. We are the ones who have the strength. We have we have the strength, right? We have the energy. We have the knowledge. We have the wisdom. We have the capacity, right, to do all of those things. And so we should be willing to do something. We should understand that none of us is willing until all of us are willing. None of us is willing to change Africa until all of us are willing. We should come together, collaborate, propose solutions to these challenges to move Africa forward. So once again, happy International Youth Day to every African out there. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Juliet. We have Sharon from Uganda. Sharon, if you're able to hear me, say hello.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, Sharon, we have. We are able to hear you, and you have 3 minutes. Kindly. Yes, you can introduce yourself and then.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to celebrate this International Youth Day with you. I want to thank the leadership of the National Youth Caucus Kenya. That is my friend Lucy Mutuku for inviting me for this great event to share with you, my brothers and sisters from Kenya. Our uniting factor today is the fact that we are all young people and we are gathered here to see how we are going to discuss the challenges and way forward of how we are going to handle our lives and, the generations and the future as the young people of Africa. My first time, I want to give the brief background of me, myself. I am called Ademun Sharon Leah. I am from Uganda. I am a female youth representative at the National Youth Council Uganda. So I'm also an economist by profession, and I practice. I'm a practicing teacher. Sometimes when I tell people that I am teaching, and the fact that I am not a teacher by profession, they get surprised. But right now I am a teacher. I'm a teacher by situation. We are discussing about unemployment here and there. So instead of me being an economist, the situation forced me to become a teacher after my graduation. And my first time to get to know about the National Youth Caucus Kenya, of course, when I got a chance to attend the Energy Youth Summit in Kenya, where I met my brothers and sisters, most especially Lucy Mutuku. I saw how she was so energetic, and
was criticized. I was like, gosh, this man had so many projects that he was doing, 4 plus 2 hours. And of course, for our parents, I don't even know how he was managing doing all those projects. But I sat and I said, I am not him. But do I really want to crash everything that this guy has worked on? And he used to ask me to follow the construction site. And so I decided, I'm going to do what I can do. And let me tell you, it's good for us to always think of the environment in which we are. So when I was at home sitting and crying, there was a bird that was at the top of the tree. And this bird was coming down to pick dry grass. It was going up to build its nest. So I just walked over, when it was up, and I checked and I saw, gosh, this bird is building its nest. Then I said, I think it is talking to me. And I waited, and I saw it come down again. At times they would pick some dry grass and leave, of course, drop it, then pick another one, try it, and they say maybe there's a way the beak tests the right material to use. So, what did this bird teach me? That, and then it was very determined, it continued. Then there's another bird that came, and it tried to disturb it, but it fought it off and went back to do the same thing it was doing. I was so impressed. So I wiped my tears, and I said, this is a small animal. If it can do what it is doing, God, you are talking to me. What can you do? And you have a bigger brain than a bird. What did the bird teach me? Discipline, consistency, hard work, focus, determination, and not being bothered about what is happening around the world. And I said, my God, haven't you talked to me? Haven't you talked to me? How many times have you people been going through challenges and you see things but you don't learn from them? Even when you're in the car, do you need to see even what is around you to see? What does this billboard say? What does the car ahead of you say? Those words, what do they mean to you? How can you apply them in your life? And I can tell you what I did. I sat down. And at the same time, because I read a lot, and I'm an author, I will tell you the books I have written. I decided, I was reading Dr. Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I came up with, I saw one word, focus. The same time, you see, God was still talking to me. Sarah, focus. From the entire book, even up to today, I remember that word, focus. Follow one course until successful. So I went back to the house, I wiped my tears, and I started writing down all the projects that were remaining that man had started. And I said, Sarah, for motivation, start with the easier ones first. You have loans you're supposed to pay. You have a mouth. Let your legs take you to Mwangi wa Equity. Enda ukae chini na mwambie, mzee, mimi siwezi kulipa hizi pesa sahi. Why? My local manager had said, we are going to sell this property that 2 people had taken to take the loan. It had accumulated up to 12 million. I didn't have the money with me. I was still paying bills, which were outstanding. I was paying the hospital bill which left. But I thank God for good friendships. There was this doctor who was taking care of him from the Aga Khan community. That man came and told me, I'm going to sign off your husband's body, but make sure you come back and pay. If you don't pay, it's me who's going to pay that money. So what did I do? I told him, sir, God bless you so much. He was a Muslim. So this thing of religion, oh, I'm a Christian. Those Christians didn't help me. Yes? Are we together? I'm not despising Christianity, but I'm talking about relationships here. And that is networking, relationships, building meaningful and lasting relationships. That is what is important. So what did I do? I told him, thank you very much, sir. I will do as you have said, because I was so confused. I was praying, but I didn't know where the answer would come from. But through faith and commitment, and also serving God, he will give you solutions. So I took his body, we interred the body. Then after that, now I sat with my children. They were my closest friends. Even the pastor didn't come back to us, even after they promised they would come to us. We never saw our relatives also coming back immediately. I think you have seen that, you people have experienced. I never saw my close friends. Actually, I would call them Professor. When you expect them to even tell me, Paul, Sarah, come, we have a cup of tea, and we care about you. Nobody bothered about me. But I said, Sarah, there's a God in heaven, and he will help you. and I started to walk majestically. So even those people who would come at work, because we have a company where we manufacture products for construction, doors and frames, the wood, and we do excellent work. I think the same thing my husband was doing, I'm continuing to do it. So I called these people who were his clients, and I told them, listen, I am going to work on your projects. They were asking me, are you sure? Uko na pesa? I said, you don't worry, but I'll work on it. So the good thing, there's nothing as good as being organized. This man used to write every file. If it is Waithaka, file yake anaonyesha 10 million, balance 3 million. Nora, this amount of money, balance 10 million. Doris, 100 million, balance 90 million. You see? So when he was like that, so I asked my lady at work, and let me tell you, never feel like you, even if you succeed like anything, never underrate even employees. I had to become their friends. I had to humble myself. I had to ask our manager, mulikuwa mnafanya kazi aje na dadi? And she told me, and she walked with me. And even those people who came to try and tell lies, she would tell them, listen, Waithaka, mzee wakati alikuwa hai, mimi ndiye nilikuwa nakuja naandika kila kitu. Kwa hivyo mbona unasema hivi, mzee hakufanya hivyo, wacha nitoe hiyo file, nakuja, anakuletea unaibika. Unaona? So I continued, I started with the smallest. When I finished the first project, my God, nitajishika kama Doris hapa. Nilikuwa naona, what is her name? Grace. Nilikuwa naona najishika hivi. So hata mimi wacha tu nijishike. Grace, wacha nijishike. So nikaenda nikangangana, but I worked with the professionals. And I was able to start with one project. I finished after 9 months. I went to the second one, but I talked to them and I told them, communication and how you communicate is very important. So I told them, listen, if you respected Karingi, even me, please, kindly respect me. And it's not even me, respect him, he's dead, but he had a relationship with you. But I'm going to work very hard and finish on this project. And I continued to the second, nikamaliza hiyo. So within 3.5 years, I had finished all those projects. Imagine. Yes. So I'm giving you this story to encourage you, to tell you that you can work. And just by talking to people. So when my manager, now you remember I told you I had that loan? So nikaenda nikajiuliza, I was still reading the Bible. I would open the Bible anyhow like this. I go to the book of Deuteronomy and I would get encouragement there. So one time when I was now thinking, and I can see my son here is really smiling at me. We were gonna coffee. Thank you for that smile. So do you know what I saw? That when the children of Israel were crossing from Egypt, they found this, of course, the enemies, of course, the Egyptians were chasing them. They were scared. They were in those chariots and they were like, now we have to be killed. So now here is the river. So what do? They are trying to find challenges. And that is that Red Sea, isn't it? So you wonder now, how shall I cross over to the other side? Then God will perform a miracle. So akauliza Moses, what do you have in your hand? What did Moses tell him? I have a staff in my hand. So of course, Mungu hakumwambia pasua hiyo. Nisimwambia tumia akili. So akaenda akafanya nini? Na maji wachana. Si waliweza kupita. So I said when I was still at home, Sarah, God is still talking to you. So nikasema, and I thank God when I say about men. And I used to love my husband. Imagine at times every day I think of him. So nikakuja nikaangalia nikaona sawa. Zile land alikuwa ameninunulia na majina yangu, those ones are easier to sell. That time it was very easy to sell land than today. So nikashika one. Pata 2 agents. Anta mimi pia nikaendelea kungangana kusema ninauza. Niliziuza. Nikashika, nikauza. Professor, thank you even for being good men. Yeah? Nikashika moja, huwa nikauza. Nikaenda ya pili, huwa nakwambia singejinunulia hata handkerchief. Even a pin. I was keeping that money. Then if I owe him like 100,000, nenda mwambia kuja. I can see we were owing with this machukua. Then hizo nyumba pia kule ambapo sasa siku. Now I thank God those people actually paid me all the money. So I would keep that money. So before now I got that money is when I was now dealing with the most urgent debt. So kwa banki nikaenda clear nikaongea na Mwangi akanipatia barua nikaenda nikaongea na huyo mzee alishtuka kaniuliza, gosh, you went to report me to my boss. I said no. I had requested you to give me more time, but you told me you give me a very short time. And I told you I just don't have money. But when I went to Mwangi, ladies, let me tell you, tears. Let us say tears. Girls, let us say tears. Unaona hawa watu. Hawa ukilia alafu unafanya hivi acha nikwambie, inafanya mwanaume anaenda chini. Na sio kulia tile ati unajifanya hivi. Mimi Afro hata ukifanya hivi, unaona? Let me tell you. Mwangi was very sympathetic. Kaniambia, you know what? I feel so sad for you, but I will help you. So he gave me a letter. And let me tell you, I promised him that I was going to work on that loan and I cleared. So I made sure this I cleared 5 million. So I went back to him and told him, you see, within 7 months I've been able to clear the 7 million. I've sold all the plots zile nilikuwa nazo, but nilikuwa nimebakisha zingine. So this time, God was actually on my side. So ndio nikaenda, nikaongea na mtu mwingine, so kwa process ya koti, I just took myself there. I never bribed anybody. Nikapata a clerk who was actually going to help me to connect with the judge. And that's why I really appreciate networking. Akani connect na akanambia, Sarah, I'm not going to ask you for any money, but I'll convince my judge to help you with the process of what? Succession. Na nakwambia yangu hata haikukaa 3 months. 2 months, everything was back. Just everything. And let me tell you, he never asked me for money. Ati bribery, ati shika hii 20,000 nisaidia. Niambia pana, come, I'll help you. Akanipeleka kwa judge. Judge akanisikiza na akanisaidia. But you see what? You also have to serve God. So in the church, I was very active in the church. I was serving there. Then after that now, when our business, now this one of where we were processing timber, after 5 years, that time now things were running very smoothly and I was pushing myself so much. There are times I would get home, I don't eat, I will leave the house, at times I have not combed my hair. When I look at the car, I would say, gosh, you have not combed your hair. Then I put my car aside. I always used to have a comb. So nachana nywele yangu haraka, najiangalia hivi na naona okay niko sawa. So hata nikienda, hakuna mtu atajua nimetoka kwa nyumba kama sijachana nywele. So God actually walked with me and I sincerely appreciate my God because he walked with me. He pushed me, he encouraged me, and I became a very good learner. So now when our business was doing so well, after 5 years, George, guess what happened? You know, you have very many enemies, but you people at times you don't know. Someone came and set our business on fire. After assessment, 20 million plus zikaenda. If you read my story, go to online and go to Sarah Karinge, just like Sarah Karinge, Queen of Networking. You see all my stories there. Me, I share. And I share to help people, not because I want to praise myself, no, to help you and encourage you that something can happen. So I went back now. I would go there and I see just black ashes and some ashes there because, of course, the wood and all that. And I was like, God, yani people hate me like this. But then I said, I'm not going to focus on this. And at times, it's good to have enemies because they move you from here, bang, wanakutupa huko. So when they throw in the dustbin, come out of the dustbin. That you are not supposed to be, you are not meant to stay in the dustbin. That was when a friend told me, Sarah, let us go to a networking organization. This is what is going to happen. When I went there, I felt people are giving each other referrals. I was so excited. I stayed for 3 years, no business. I was consciously aware that I have to learn and I have to be mentored. And I got mentored by South Africa. I've been to Lagos. I've been to Ghana to speak to universities and organizations about networking. Networking has helped me to see the world from a different perspective. That when I see you like my son. My first question is, when tukiongea tusikizane, sinikuuliza what you do. So you told me, I'll keep it hata kama niko mzee. Nakumbuka what you do, you deal with youth. Uko Dandora. Tunafanya kazi karibu na hapo kwako. Ukipita mto tu hivyo, on the right utaona some enterprises. If my husband was to rise from death today, he'll be a very happy man because I've transformed those businesses. I've encouraged my children. And even as I was doing all this, you see the devil is so bad. My son became an alcoholic for 10 solid years. When I was suffering like that, I said, I'm going to push myself. I'm going to encourage my son. I'm not going to abandon him. And I encouraged him. I took him to different rehabs. Today, he's running his own business in the coast. Yes. My son be beaten. Kama ni nguo kiangalia hivi unaona yote ni damu. Na Mungu akakataa akufe because I used to pray. My knee stopped aching 2 years ago because I would kneel and I pray for him. I know you people, you are very lucky. And the boy child. See, you are my sons. Yes. Let us congratulate the boys who are here. And I thank you, Idaka, for encouraging them. Yes. I'm so proud of you that instead of going out there to drink, instead of going out there to do weird things, you are here to learn, to listen to professor, to listen to other speakers and to listen to someone like me. I may not be the best, but if someone can remember, never forget anything like this. So you always remember about this. And I like training to some places. I ask myself, how has this tree managed to grow between a crack? No, so be like that tree. Ungangane utokeze, and you don't have to bribe anybody. Just talk to people. Networking has helped many people. It's about building relationships. At times, just offer your free services. Enda tu ngangana, enda ufanye kazi huko. Utaona umechukuliwa na United Nations. Utaona umechukuliwa na some organizations to just work there. But at times, mimi siwezi kufanya kazi kama sijalipwa. And they are observing you to see. One place where you people can work, I am a member of Rotary Clubs. A Rotary Club. And Professor, you even came one time to speak at the Rotary Club of Langata. I remember that time you had come. At that time, it was the time when there was this siasa. And Rotary helps many communities, either with boreholes or school programs or things, of course, to do with illnesses, health, and all that. So even if you are not able to give so much, just come and join them when they are working. Because most of those people, let me tell you, I'm stealing a secret from you, for you. Most of the people there are decision makers. Some of them are in the government. Others are in very big organizations, like there's one who works for Microsoft, another one works for Google, others are working for Safaricom, others are working in, they have their own businesses. So mkikaa kwa nyumba mna complain, itamsaidiaje? When you go there, become Rotaractors. Go there, participate. Mkisikia kuna watu wanaenda maybe Kitui, kusaidia huko. Make other people's business your business, and you will be in business. Make other people's business your business, and you will be in business. When I talk about business, I'm not just saying about ile business ya kufanya kazi tupate pesa. Hapana. Anything that you see that somebody is doing, make sure that you try and help them, and they will do what? They also help you back. So we have to be very intentional. We have to focus. We have to work hard, and we have to make sure that as youth, I've liked what Doris has said, that we are not the youth of tomorrow. We are not the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of today. How do you know that you'll be there tomorrow? So in maneno ya kuambiwa you are the leaders of tomorrow. It is today. What can you do with the knowledge that you have? What can you do with the ideas you have, Nora? What can you do with that energy that you have? And I've liked what I can see there. Youth energy. Energy summit. Energy. You people, you have a lot of energy. Imagine even some people tell me, Sarah, Kai, at even 60 plus, you have so much energy. I say them, yes. Because I do fitness, I am focused, I'm always learning, and I go to the University of Strathmore to learn about business because I want my businesses to, and then I've also now, I'm doing succession planning. And I've called my son, I've called my daughter, we sit. So she's always running the business. So what do? Mimi nalala, napiga tu simu, hii business kunaendaje? Hii kuko naendaje, the managers. Na hapa, okay, then next week we have a meeting. So I want ABCD to be done. What we discussed last month, I want to know whether we have done it. You have to give people targets. Without that, we cannot go far. So I want to encourage each and every one of you to know that when you network with the right people, you can go very far. Mimi mambo yangu bado. As long as I can walk with my feet like this, let me tell you, it can take me to different places. Yesterday, I was called by somebody, and he told me, Sarah, I want to put you in the Juakali Association as one of the leaders. And I said, yes, I will come. And I went. I was trained, and we still go far. Why? Somebody referred me, someone I don't even know. I can refer, nakasema ni sawa. Then another friend of mine told me, oh, I even know the chairman. So she also talked very good things about me to the chairman of Juakali Association. Then after that, there's a girl who has been my PA. She's called Christine. Christine is now the CEO of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, the county office. So she called me and told me, Ma'am, I want you to tap into the opportunities that are in this organization. And I told her yes. So when I walked in there, another day came and said, Sarah, I would like you to join my committee. Imagine. Why? Because they can see the value I'm giving. And he talked about the values. What values do you give out to people out there? And people see. When people search Sarah Karingi, go to Pinterest. I know some of you don't even know that app here, Pinterest. And I type Sarah Karingi. utaona my quotes. Every week I have 1 or 2 quotes. I have videos that I have put out there just because I want to leave a legacy that networking can help us to move from this level to that level. Please clap for me. That's how I always, that's how I always end. Anyway, I always end like that to make people happy, isn't it? Are you happy? Are you encouraged? Do you promise that you are going to change from today? Now I want you to take my number. Then you will send me a message, Sarah, from today I'm going to change. And again, 0714. Nata ukienda kwa WhatsApp, kwa my website. Imagine I have a website. How many people have websites here? Their own, personal. Nataka kuona mikono juu. Sinyi ndio watu wa technology. Thank you, Professor. Let's clap for Professor. Imagine, wazee wanamshinda na nyinyi ndio mko kwa technology. Sindio? And now Sarah is also an author. Now, let me tell you something. This one is my first book, Overcoming the Impossible. I have shared about the challenges I faced. I'm going to put edition 2 because I want to improve on it. This one is about challenges for anybody. In life we have challenges, so how did I overcome? It's overcoming the impossible. Then, because I love networking a lot, is here, what successful business networkers do. So for you to succeed in networking, this is a small handbook. It gives you some tips on how you cannot just keep on dishing business cards to anybody and you don't know the meaning of why you should do it. Then, Sarah is very daring. I went to the American embassy, and let me tell you, I could not get a visa, Professor. Waithaka, wewe ukienda mara moja unyimwe visa utafanya wacha wakae, mimi sitarudi huko. Nilienda mara 2, mara 3. Nikaenda bila chochote, I just went with my passport. Nikaambia huyo mtu nalikuwa mzungu, kijana kama wewe. I said, excuse me, my son. You have been refusing and denying me a visa. I'm not going to America to stay there. I have people I take care of. And God is bringing me to you. We queue. Instead of going to Professor here, I'm coming to you. Don't you think God should talk to you? Me, I want that visa. I'm only going to see somebody to mentor me about networking, then I come back. Do you know that man? Akaanza, unaona vile wazungu wakikasirika wanakuwa? They change the color. Yote inakuwa pink. That man gave me that visa. And I really thank God just to see somebody to help me, to mentor me. So this man made me a co-author in his book. Because I showed him the value that I do in his organization. It's called Dr. Ivan Meissner. So if you want to learn about networking, you want to learn about business, me, I'm an open book. I will train you, but of course at a small fee. I've invested a lot in networking, but I'll work with you. I'll give you some tips, and I will help you to grow. There are some young people I have helped. One person just heard my story, and thank you so much, Grace, for encouraging us to talk about stories. He just heard about my story about the way my business was set on fire. He had closed his business. You know what he did? He said, after all, I'm a man. I have to make sure that I revive my business. So he put back his restaurant, and today he's doing very well. Yes? So you have to share your stories. Then, there are other young people I have mentored. Some are doing tourism. They are running very successful businesses. My children, the same. They are doing the same. And as I was telling about my grandson, I didn't finish the story. He told me, Shosh, you like marketing. Do you know you can use WhatsApp status to market your companies? I was like, wow. I have now influenced so many groups. Instead of what unaka tu picha yako hapo tu unapost hivi, put something that can help other people, because there are people who are very interested in you. Kila mtu anakufollow, kuna kitu anapenda chako. So use it, maybe like now you is about youth. Weka kwa status. Then encourage your friends also to put on their status. And they say we are helping Waithaka to achieve ABCD. And they will see. And that is why even some people, when I have a place where I'm going to talk, they keep on checking. They come to my events. Or they go wherever I am being invited. And at times I don't even know them. They later come to me and tell me, imagine I saw you on WhatsApp status that you had marketed this event, and that is why we came. So use any opportunity to help other people. Are we together? Imagine I learned that one from my son. The other time I learned from the bird. Another time I learned from Kiyosaki. Another time I learned from the University of Strathmore. Another thing I learned from someone like George. Are we together? So every time have the spirit of wanting to learn. I know we can talk until tomorrow. Am I boring? No. So you want me to continue? Unfortunately, I may not. So if you want me to continue, invite me. So my number is 0714 880 173. Just drop me a message on WhatsApp, 0714 880 173. Tuko pamoja? Now this time clap for yourselves. Asanteni sana, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate her once again. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was such a blessing. Don't you think it's amazing how you can go through fire and come out not smelling like smoke? Don't you think it's so amazing? Don't you think does she smell like smoke? You wouldn't even tell, right? Yeah, so I hope you guys have picked a thing or two. And of course, right about now, I know some of you are looking at me and wondering, hey, it's lunchtime, yeah? So I need us to be back here by 2:40. Tell your friend 2:40. Tell your neighbor 2:40. So where we're going to have lunch. So right at the reception, you'll take your lunch voucher, all right? And then we head to the restaurant that is through this door straight ahead, all right? Let's go and have our lunch, all right? So your release, see you here at 2:40. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Currently, we have only 30 minutes for lunch. We only have 30 minutes as a lunch, and then we will be back. Our next session begins at 2:45. Kindly. Young people, oye. Please, we only have 30 minutes as a lunch, and then we will be here. Aki, let's cooperate kindly. Hey, youth. These people are not leaving. They will be here to the end. So kindly, let's go have our lunch. Kindly. Only 30 minutes it's allocated. Prof, you are the center of attraction. Nimewakaribia. Aya, let's go. Nitaharibu picha. Prof, kuja nikuibe. Okay. The last one basi. Kama that is the last one. Msiniulize mbona na protect. He is the one who is drawing this attention. Sindo? We have Msipoenda, we have an amazing speaker who is also joining us in a few. Yes. So, mkidelay akasirike, si shauri yenu tu. Haya. Hey. Prof. Aya.
Yes, the better.
Where is our photographer, by the way?
I'm in the lunch. Tumesema ende lunch. Okay.
Prof, sasa natoka na wewe hapa.
Tutashare LinkedIn, don't worry.
I'm requesting, tukimaliza now we have a group photo ya the speakers with Prof. See, that's okay? Okay. Si wakati, the youth, mtaingia. Okay. Nani amebaki hajapiga picha? Sawa. Hizo ziko mingi. Zishafika LinkedIn. Zishaenda global. Aya, the next group sasa ingie ndo speakers waingie. Okay, I'm hoping this is the last group. Hata nimeshindwa kuwa control.